Now we're live. It's been 4 weeks since I've been live. 4 weeks. I finished up my kimchi for the day, trying to get those 5 servings of fermented foods. I got my personal Instagram. You guys like my hat? I got this hat while I was... Hello, Evan. I got this hat while I was in Budapest. Live on IG. Let's turn on. It's our turn, YouTube. There we go. Welcome home. Thank you, Keist. I've been reading your troll comments on our YouTube. Man, Keist, I think you trolled us like twice or 3 times when I was gone. So what I want to start off with on YouTube is I'm going to go over the giveaway. Steve, I've missed you. I haven't seen you guys or talked to you in 4 weeks. I hope you're doing well. Good to see you in the chat. R2, how was the season? How did everything roll with you? So we're going to go over the t-shirt giveaways. Again, if you guys are on YouTube, you can enter to win our free t-shirts that we give away during our long form videos. All you've got to do is comment on the YouTube video. Make sure that your YouTube subscription is active. And then finally, you've got to show up to the Tuesday public live. Now, we haven't had one for 4 weeks because I've been traveling to 2 different world championships. But all you have to do is to show up Tuesday to see if you actually got, figured that out, or if you actually got the shirt. So the t-shirt giveaways, Niels Smader, Niel Smader, 4961. You won the free shirt off of the vertical jump video. So to claim this prize, you guys have to email support@garagestrength.com. Okay, after you email support at Keith definitely trolls constantly, at least online. After you email support@garagestrength.com, you got to take a screenshot of your YouTube studio. You can blank out any revenue stream that you have there. And once you blank that out, you send that over. I feel like I got a bug bite on my tricep. You enter, or you send that over to us just so we can make sure that it's the same screen name that is claiming in the email. And then we verify that you're the winner, and we mail you. We don't email it. We mail you that free shirt. So all you guys have to do is comment on that YouTube video. Make sure your subscription to our channel is active, and then finally email us or show up to the Tuesday YouTube Live, and then we email you after you win it. Okay. Rodolfo Medini 9931, lean at 39. Man, that video came out so long ago. That's what's crazy with this, is that as we're going through these t-shirt giveaways, it's been so long since I've done this, and so long that we filmed some of these videos, which seems like 6 weeks ago, which probably was 6 weeks ago. And we've got more videos coming out that I filmed like probably almost 2 months ago. So yeah, because I'm leaving again on Thursday. I leave Thursday to go back out on the road to Eugene. So, all right, now we're getting into JP Iwanski. JP Iwanski basketball video. You also won that free t-shirt. All you got to do, again, is email us that you made sure that, so to make sure that that was, the act, that you were the active individual. Sorry. And then finally, Zach K. 2231 Athlete Day video. You're the 4th one. So we're chipping away at these t-shirt giveaways before we start getting into questions. Everybody that won: Niels Smader 4961, Rodolfo Medini 9931, JP Iwanski from the basketball video, and then Zach K 2231. You guys all won those t-shirts. Again, email us support@garagestrength.com. and we'll help you as far as everything else is concerned. So let's get into some of these big questions, right? I'm going to try and remove these off that YouTube screen. So if you guys are on YouTube, these questions should be disappearing. And then now one of the good questions comes up. So we're getting into the big factor. One of my favorite questions of all time. First question, what's up from India, Jacob2198. What's up, Dad? All right. What main thing? Okay, this is a question. So if you're on Instagram, you don't see the questions on the screen. if you head over to the YouTube channel, you could see them up on the screen, but you don't have to. What main thing, this is from CP26858. CP26858 asked this question. What main thing helped you get Nick Singleton so fast? I think that question alone sort of is just annoying. Gotcha Racing, also, I have a question in here that you actually posed. Now, if we think about it this way, first, we've got to think through what's going to make somebody fast, right? There's some big factors. One, you have to have a work ethic to get fast. Two, you have to do things that express your speed, so you have to be in doing something with locomotion or anything along those lines. Three, along the lines of having a work ethic, you also just simply have to have good genetics, right? And then four, you have to have good training that supports. So if we think about showing up and having a work ethic, and then having a good training system to support the work ethic, and then having, doing something that actually involves locomotion around speed, right? And then finally genetics. So you have to have those four things. Genetics in the sense that not necessarily, I think a lot of people will say like, oh, somebody's genetically gifted. In this specific question, what made Nick Singleton so fast? What made Nick Singleton so fast is his work ethic, his ability to train. And I'll share a quick story. During COVID, when Nick was training inside of his garage, right? So when COVID first hit, his dad texted me, we got to get Nick weights. He's getting recruited by everybody by this point, but he's already got that work ethic ingrained. Nick wants to make sure that he can train. COVID had just hit. Like, everything's completely shut down. No one has any idea what's going on. And Nick's mom is in medicine as well. Also, I wanted to point this out. I got this little gift here. Check that out. It's pretty cool. You guys on Instagram can't see it. So Nick's mom's also in healthcare. So they wanted to keep Nick home and safe, all these things, right? So they come over, and we're putting out equipment for our athletes to use. And then after they would use our equipment, we would go on, or when they would use our equipment, we would go on Zoom. Anyway, Nick's in 10th grade. He has no squat racks. He's just doing cleans. And after he would do a clean, he'd do front squats, right, to get his leg strength up. He'd do floor benches, stuff like that. And his little brother would spot him on these floor benches. So to use this example, Nick would do cleans. He'd do power cleans. He'd do power snatches. He'd do muscle snatches. He'd do lunges and stuff, front squats, stiff-legged deadlifts, things like this. But while he would be doing that, during his rest period, I would hear this like, and it comes back to Nick would be off to the side where I couldn't see him with a speed ladder, and he'd just be doing like footwork stuff. And I'm not even like this huge fan of speed ladder stuff, but that was during his rest period. So I'd be yelling at him on Zoom, through the computer, like, what are you doing? And then he would show me, and he'd be sweating like crazy, be hot in his garage. But that's asking this question, what main thing helped you get Nick Singleton so fast? There's not a main thing. There's no main thing for anyone to get strong. There's no main thing for anyone to get athletic. There's no main thing for anyone to get fast. It all comes back to this full encompassing, like, global aspect, right? You have to have a good training program. You have to have a good work ethic. You have to do an activity that involves speed, so running, something like that, right? And then finally, you've got to be genetically gifted. So in Nick's case, a lot of single leg squats, a lot of back squats, a lot of cleans, a lot of snatches, a lot of plyometrics, a lot of crazy plyometrics, a lot of crazy lifting. And then finally, a lot of sprints, a lot of hill sprints, all of those things. So what's the main thing? All of that. And doing it all of the time with consistent work ethic. It can't be like one main thing. So just keep that in mind. That's for CP26858. Just got back from a meeting. I just had a meeting. It's like being gone for the last 4 weeks and then coming back now. It's like I have a million meetings. I started to film YouTube videos again this morning. We filmed a pretty cool video on upper back strength. Actually, we filmed a cool baseball video too. So I'm going to answer the rest of these questions here, and then I'm going to get into what we're doing over on the video. I'm trying to figure out, is that there? No, over here. There we go. Shoot, sorry. Once we get over there. Sorry, Instagram. I noticed this is switched. Usually I have to point this way and it goes that way. Blackjack! Brandon Freeze, $4.99 super chat. Brandon, so Blackjack, who just gave us that super chat, $4.99, is one of my closest friends since we were like 7 years old. He's a troll, and he also subsequently probably knows more about hormones than anyone else on the planet, possibly. All right. I also want to let everybody know the current situation here at Garage Strength is they're pumping the septic system in our gym. So the whole gym just smells like poop right now. But that's what happens when you train at a real gym. Okay. Gotham 3633. Does anyone have recommendations on when to time your weights and track training? Should I do weights in the morning, before school, or after practice? I think this is a great question, Gotham. And I think it comes down to, track training. So how many days a week are you going to be on the track running sprints? I would say you should be running sprints 2 to 3 days a week, depending upon your sport. If track's your sport, it's a different scenario. That's where you should be probably doing more of your work then. The next big step would be if you are lifting weights, right? So let's say you're training 3 days a week or you're training 4 days a week. It'd be ideal if you could train, before school and after school, but that's not realistic. So if we looked at it and said, all right, where do you feel the best? And when can you get your homework done? And can you get your homework done, come home from school, maybe eat something and then go lift? Or do you feel better if you would lift later at night at, like, let's say 6 or 7 o'clock at night? So it's like, I think it always comes back to whatever your schedule is, whatever that priority is, that's going to play a massive role in establishing the best time to do it. I don't think it matters if you do it before school, if you do it after school, if you do it 7 o'clock at night. I think what matters is, does it fit your schedule the best? Because if it fits your schedule the best at a certain time, you're going to be more likely to continuously do that. And then when you're more likely to continuously do that, then you're going to do a better job of showing up. Then you're going to have that reward system come into place, because now you're going to be doing, you're going to be improving a little bit more. So I don't get hung up so much on the time of day, but get more hung up on, if I do this when it's easiest within my schedule, that's when I'm going to have the most success. Gotcha Racing. Okay, so Gotcha Racing just commented he needs more t-shirts. He's one of our biggest fans. Actually, has a question in here. It says, Coach, I've been cutting and I've gone from 17% body fat to 11% body fat. How far should I go to be as lean as possible for wrestling? Miguel Alvarado just asked about doing a video for training bull riders. My dad actually rode bulls for 2.5 years. Gotcha. I would really, really, really challenge you. Most people will say they're like 10 or 11% body fat, and typically that is not that's not usually accurate. I would be impressed if you're at 11%. Anyway, okay. So Gotcha. The question that you posed in today's chat was also one that you posed on a video where you said, how can you become a beast at wrestling and how to cut for it as well? Trying to cut weight, and I think I'm doing all right, but nutrition plan would be awesome too. So as far as nutrition is concerned, we have a nutrition program called the High Performance Nutrition Program, and essentially what it is a full sheet that it's like 15, 20 pages, right? And it lays out what you need to eat for breakfast, what you need to eat for dinner, what you need to eat for lunch, what snacks you need to have, and then what specific snacks or macros you would be trying to achieve based off of your body weight. And so I would first recommend, if you need a simple start, the High Performance Nutrition Program is absolutely fantastic. It's what I used when I started to jumpstart my weight loss to get down from, 290 down to where I'm at right now, like 220, 225. I did gain a little bit of weight when I was in France, crushing a full loaf of bread every single day, overeating to a point. But I think the big thing there with Gotcha is that it comes down to, how low where are you going to wrestle? Like if you're wrestling, are you going to be a heavyweight or are you going to be a middleweight? Like where are you at right now in regards to the weight class that you want to be in? You just mentioned that you also want to try and possibly throw this year. So how low do you want to go? You probably shouldn't go below 15%, body fat either. If you want to try to throw, I wouldn't recommend going below that. So it's one of those questions, if you have a couple abs showing, you're probably around 12% body fat. If you have like 2 abs showing, 15% is pretty healthy, pretty good for your body fat percentage. And I would probably try to stay right around 15% and just try to increase muscle mass. And I would say, just keep hammering forward with that and focus on the nutrition with the high performance nutrition program. So you just said you're at 160 pounds body weight. Yeah, I mean, what's your best bench? What's your best clean? Your best back squat? That's going to help me with your body weight there. Is getting your master's in exercise physiology overkill? It depends on what you want to do. If you want to be sort of like a professor or a higher end researcher, I think you should probably get your master's in that. I don't think you have to though. Next one, Kevin Duncan, Tim Duncan's little brother. Kevin Duncan comes in. He goes, oh, shoot. He actually has a real good question, too. Sorry, Kevin. I have a daughter going into 9th grade. She plays volleyball, basketball, and she will be a thrower in javelin and discus in track and field. What's the best way to train for an athlete that is extremely busy? I would say the best way to train for an athlete that's extremely busy is, Cyro, you are, first of all, I don't know if you are below 15% body fat. You're probably 12 to 15%. Discus throw is going to be a little bit different. Also, you do need to eat more, Cyro. I think we've talked about that for like the past 9 years, and you still have not eaten more. Actually, Keese, before I get back to the Kevin Duncan question, Keese is on Discord calling me an abomination for having larger calves and upper arms. That's hilarious. Yeah, you should focus more on your upper body, but also everybody, if you're not in the Discord channel, it's essentially like a YouTube live all day. So get into that Discord channel and start contributing in there or talking through the community. So if we've got a basketball player, volleyball player, they're very, very busy, they're competing all the time, I would say the first thing to do as far as starting to lift weights is, especially if we're thinking about shoulder health, knee health, if we're thinking about volleyball and basketball, is look at it from a simple goal setting perspective. Can we start to throw, or can we start to lift? Can we start to lift? Like, just start with 2 days a week. Can we lift one day on the weekend, and then can we lift one day during the week? So you look at your schedule for your sports, and you say, okay, I've got sports 4 days a week, and then I have one day on the weekend where we have a competition. All right, well, let's try to lift on Sunday. Let's get a Sunday lift in, and then let's get like a Tuesday lift in. And on Tuesday, we're just going to lift for 40 minutes. On Sunday, we'll lift for 60 minutes. So that would be my first recommendation, is to just start as simple as possible. Now, the one thing I will bring up is that oftentimes parents will say, well, I wanted to wait till my kid was in 9th grade or 10th grade till they would start to lift. And by the time it's like 10th grade, it's like, dude, they're behind the 8 ball. Like if they were training, if they were exercising or doing resistance-based training, doing plyometrics, doing specific motor learning that way at an earlier age, that jump starts their progress within that specific sport. But keep it simple where it's like, let's start at 2 to 3 days a week. In this case, Kevin, start with 2 days and then try to build into 3 days. And then you start to look at, all right, well, she's a basketball player and a volleyball player. What specific lifts can we focus on? And this is exactly what we do inside of Peak Strength. Inside Peak Strength, we've got a volleyball program, we've got a basketball program, and it's been built. They were all built by me. And then they have the exercise replacement if you don't have a specific technique or if you don't have access to specific specific equipment. So I would start there, build up over time from that 2 days to 3 days, and then try to get to the point where you're at 4 days a week. And if she gets to 4 days a week, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal for her to really improve her jumping ability, her knee health, her shoulder stability as well. So that's where I would go with that, Kevin. Now, Christoph Elmanganga. Christoffel Manganga. 8057. I got to put this up on the screen. Christoffel Elmanganga. When trying to perform a high hang snatch, I can't squat with a bar over my head. How do I fix this? So what Christoph is saying is that he'll execute a high hang snatch, right? So he does a high hang snatch, and then as he's squatting, right? As he's squatting, the bar starts to come forward. He can't hold it over his head. So it's a high hang snatch. He does like a power snatch, gets here, and then as he starts to decrease, the bar creeps forward. So there's a couple things that I would do. First, I would do snatch presses here, okay? Behind the neck. Boom. Let's do a set of 5. Okay? Then the next thing that I would do, I would sit on a box, okay, down at like 12 inches, and I would be as upright as possible, and I would do snatch presses down on the box. Okay, so I'm down there. Now, the next thing I would do is I would use a technique stick, or, so we use a technique stick that we sell with our Power Elastics. Now we add tension at the top. So we've got Power Elastics wrapped on a technique stick or wrapped on the bar, and we do presses there. Then we go back down to the bottom, okay? And we're sitting on a box because what seems to be the issue is that you lack mobility probably in the ankles and probably in the shoulders. Okay, so now you do it with bands down in the bottom. Here's an interesting one, okay? The next thing that I would do, okay, so we just did basically 4 variations there. Press standing, press on the box, press standing with Power Elastics, press on the box with Power Elastics. Ooh, thank you. Appreciate you very much. P is make a detailed video on cycling. Please make a detailed video on cycling. We did a really good video on cycling, and I've recently really started to work with, let me see this here. Recently just started to work with a sprint cyclist who's a 2-time Olympian. Was listening to a podcast with Max Aiden, and he ripped you for your naming of exercises and called you the king of no man's land. When are you getting him on the podcast? That's great. I should text. I'm going to text him after this and be like, yo, I'm mad at you. You made fun of me on a podcast, Max. I would love to get him on a podcast at some point. Probably we could get him on a podcast when I'm traveling somewhere. I actually just saw him when I was in Saudi Arabia, so I will have to get Max on a podcast. That'd be a fun one. That would be very fun. He's a good dude to be around. Okay, so going back to Christoph, we did the snatch presses. Now the next thing that I would do is I would have you squat all the way into the hole, okay? And I would actually have Christoph have his heels elevated. And what I would do is I would put one arm out, okay? And I'd have a kettlebell here. And I'm assuming that Christoph has some strength because he's talking about a high hang snatch. So what I would do then is I'd hold this arm out for balance, and I'd sit in the bottom position with my heels elevated, and then I would press here. Unknown 26 or 2664588 just stated that Peak Strength has changed their life. Thank you so much. Thank you for trying out Peak Strength. So going back to that, if we have the one arm out here and we're sitting in the hole and we're pressing with a kettlebell here, that's going to help with ankle mobility. That's going to help with our shoulder stability, okay? That's going to eventually get us the strength, the mobility to maintain that position when we get into the hole. Then we get back here and we have this as balance, and we press on the left side. So a lot of people, when they struggle to hold an overhead squat position or a full snatch position, they don't realize that if you do some unilateral work, it can actually expedite the process really, really quickly. So that's where I would use that as like that cheat code to get you comfortable getting into the hole. And then over time, what I would do is I would do a high hang power snatch into an overhead squat. And I would look at it, okay, what's happening? I like to see what's happening and then try to understand that. Then the next thing, high hang snatch into an overhead squat to a box. Real light. Just do real light work, okay? Just doing that real nice and easy, nice and light. And then eventually get to the point where you get comfortable, and we would remove the box. And now, ideally, you would have the stability in the shoulder, the mobility in the ankles to get that full range of motion. And that might take 3 to 4 weeks to get to that point, and it might take one session. It really just depends on the individual and what the individual's problem areas might be. All right, so I'm going to get into some of these questions here over in the chats. over in the chat. See what you guys have to say. Some really good stuff here. I have sharp left side shin pain. Sharp left side shin pain on my left leg. So left leg outside the left shin. Do you know what it can be? Haven't been able to jump for almost 2 months now. Please help. What should I do? I would say, Uncle Fester, is that when you're just jumping or when you're running, have you done any rehab for it? Have you gotten any imaging for it? I would say try to get some imaging done. And then also do some like tibialis curls, PVC pipe walks, walking barefoot. Did you have a contact injury? Like there's so many different questions that could arise from that statement that I'm hesitant. It could be shin splints, but it could be something serious too. Tamid is saying when he wrestles and does MMA, his abductors, abductors. So think about moving your knee away from your body. His abductors are quite weak, but when I train them on a machine, it feels quite stiff. Any explosive movement? Are there any? So he's assuming, I would say standing clamshells. I would say side band walks. I would say stand on a single leg and open that hip on each side. I would actually, going with Tamid here, Tamid, I would actually answer, or I would actually tell you to go watch our recent video on peak strength, which is like 90% of people don't know how to train agility. That's literally the title of the video. And I would watch that because we have some warm-ups in there that you could use for opening up the hips that would help as far as what that question is concerned. I'm writing some of this stuff down. I wanted to write down the overhead squat one for snatch. I think that's a really good question. Samuel, PVC pipe walks are phenomenal for warming up. To echo Keist, so Keist, I'm unable to tense my right bicep. It's like my mind cannot make it fully contract. This is from Tim Parks. I would say make sure that your bicep is not torn. See how it feels when you do sort of partial range of motion and see if that helps at all. I wanted to go back to Keist, and he had brought up that Max Ada had said that I make up names for exercises, which is perfectly fair. I definitely do like to call things my own name. I also think I like to name movements after people that I know that have played around with them. I also think sometimes I come up with names that I think are genuinely better than the names that are already existing. So I do have some theory around this, but I did want to come up with, to discuss this. We call these PVC pipe walks, right? So PVC pipe walks, to me, is the name. However, I have pitched to 2 of my employees that I want to change them to stability pipe walks. Because when I was overseas, I was Googling PVC pipes, okay? I noticed something's on my screen here. So I'm Googling PVC pipes for exercises that we've created and we've put out into the ether. And PVC pipes just keeps coming up, right? Just literally just PVC pipes. So I'm like, shit, PVC pipes just keep coming up. Maybe we should call this another pipe, like stability pipe, instead of PVC pipe, because PVC pipes get searched for and people are just finding like plumbing and things along those lines. So I did want to bring that up to echo Miguel Alvarado, what he's saying in there for the warm-up, but also to echo what Keith was saying about Max, which is funny. Why does my spine hurt while lifting? I have no idea. There could be a spine bruise, which you do not want to have. Hey, Dane, how should I warm up for a leg power day? Best way to warm up for a leg power day, I look at it through 1, increasing heart rate first. 2, getting through, if we get through like increasing heart rate, then the next thing that we want to do is we want to have a nice general warm up. 3, then we have a specific warm up. So that first step would be, all right, let's do a very easy, 5 minutes on the assault bike, just something to get a little bit higher heart rate. Okay, so a rower, you go row for, just 5 minutes, easy. It doesn't have to be crazy, just nice and easy on the rower. Then the next thing that we're going to do is, okay, our first exercise is going to be, let's just say theoretically, a power clean. All right, well, I want to warm up my lower back. I want to warm up my hamstrings. I want to warm up my shoulders. So now I go through a mobility routine along with some general movements. So like a walking lunge, an overhead walking lunge, right? Maybe we do some shoulder stretching, some lat mobility work. And then that's part of that general warm up for actually cleaning. And then we get into the specific warm up. So now we go into how to actually warm up for a clean. So now we're going to warm up with the bar. Then we're going to warm up with 50 kilos. Then we're going to warm up with 70 kilos. Then we're going to warm up with 90 kilos if we have a big clean. So it's important that we do something to increase our heart rate, something that's more general, and then something that becomes more specific. And I like to keep the warm-ups in that sort of realm, that mindset, so that things stay as easy as possible. Can you make a video on exercises for freestyle snowboarders? Yes, actually, a freestyle snowboarder was just one of our snowboarders was just training when I came up. So I could definitely try to put something together. That would be a video that you would see typically on Peak Strength. By the way, I don't know if anybody saw our sweet videos on hurling. I don't think I've had a live since we did our videos on hurling. Okay, what's the best ankle stiffness exercise for top end speed? Okay, and so and this sort of goes in line with Mike Nolan's question of how many days of plyometrics for an off-season athlete. I would say for an off-season athlete, 1 to 2 days is plenty. Okay, 1 to 2 days is more than enough for plyometric work. Ankle stiffness, and people hear that ankle stiffness. I've always thought a better way to term this would be elasticity, ankle elasticity. So if we're thinking about something that being pliable, right? I genuinely do think of being elastic. Think about a rubber band. Think about a rubber band stretching and then releasing it. And that type of elasticity can lead to more speed when we're running. It can lead to more speed when we're jumping, or more explosiveness when we're jumping. Stiffness, I think, even though it is the scientific term, sort of puts into people's head like somebody who's not flexible. So to answer his question, what's the best ankle stiffness exercises for top end speed? One, running sprints, but then doing PVC pipe walks, walking, doing toe walks, doing heel walks, doing tibialis curls. A lot of sprinters will do like 40 to 50% sprints barefoot, and they try to focus on the mechanics on grounding. Some other stuff that you can do is just really, as you're working through your technique, do different types of skips, backward skips, side skips, and that can improve your ankle stiffness. And then ultimately, that also will lead us into some type of, let's say, sprint drills as well. I have noticed my back squat has gotten weaker during my cut, but my bench has somehow gotten stronger throughout the process of peak strength. Could it be due to heavy cleans and the snatch prior to back squatting? Yeah, Eli. So what I would say there is that snatching and cleaning before a heavy back squat, I bet you if you just went in and back squatted fresh, you would probably hit a PR back squat. So your back squat has not gotten weaker. It's just you're doing more things before it. You're prioritizing a snatch or a clean, right? Your bench has gotten better because when we do bench press, so let's say we're doing an upper body power day, we're typically just going to do some type of technical coordination movement first, and that's going to prime us for that big bench or for that big incline bench. So I would say that makes sense, and I'm glad to hear that while you're using peak strength, your bench is blowing up. So another win there from Eli regarding peak strength. Head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. You guys can download Peak Strength today. For those 7 free days of training, you can get 5 free workouts, and you can even select what sport that you're in specifically to try and improve. Okay, so then we're getting into Keist. When will we get a video on the best books for strength and conditioning? Best books for strength and conditioning. Keist, answer this. Do you think that would be a GS video, or do you think that would be a peak strength video? I almost like that for peak strength, but how many books would you want to see? Because I'm looking at my walls, and it's like, do you want to see like 40? Do you want to see top 5? Do you want to see top 10? How many do you want to see as far as the books are concerned? Is it possible to get strong legs for track using calisthenics? Yes, this is from Little Sam. I would just ask Sam. I'd say, what are you defining as strong, right? So if you can do a pistol squat, are you strong? Can you do a skater squat? Can you do a specific type of Cossack squat? And then are you going to be doing, that could go on the podcast as well. And then are you going to be doing, plyometrics? I guess that would be my big question for, can you get strong doing calisthenics? 100%. Absolutely. Conscious is asking, should I do full squats or half squats? So this is a good question because we were just talking about Ryan Krauser, arguably one of the most explosive male athletes in the world, and just how freakishly powerful he is, right? He does full range of motion front squats. He does full range of motion back squats. Literature will tell us that full range of motion back squats and front squats can increase your vertical jump and your sprinting capability. But we also do see that single leg squats. We also know that partial squats can transfer as well to power output. So when we're trying to figure out if we should be doing a back squat that's full range of motion or a back squat that's full or partial range of motion, we have to identify, what are we doing? What's the purpose? What's the purpose around why we're squatting? What's up, Bauer? I see you in there. What's the purpose around why we're squatting? But then also, what adaptation are we trying to get out of that? And then what potential limitations do we have in our training that we need to reap a benefit from? So typically what I see is transfer of training is almost always going to gear over towards doing a full range of motion squat. And then as you get closer to your peak date, you start to go down to partials. Okay, so I hope that helps. Mr. Aliva. Hey, Coach, I'm wondering how we can progressive overload the plyometric exercise by adding weight or sets. How can we improve them? So my favorite way to progressively overload or progressively load plyometrics is actually through progressions. And I also think that when you're training in specific phases, so we've got the exposure phase, comprehension phase, getting into the ascension phase, the summit phase. If we start to make progress off of progressions and we make them harder and harder and harder and harder each phase, that is a very good way to go from, let's say, doing a jump lunge, or let's just say doing a mini hurdle hop, to then going into, by phase 4, by the summit phase, we're doing single leg bounds for distance, timed potentially. So now we just created a limiting factor that's timed. We don't have the target, so we can go further, and it's going to create more power output. So I would argue that the best way to do that for plyometrics is to identify what plyometrics might transfer the best to your sport, and then work backwards. Where are you at in regard to that big time type of plyometric movement? And then how can you then make the progressions to build towards that? Keist is coming back. Eli just commented, that makes 100% sense. Do I have your permission to back squat prior to cleans and snatch for my leg power day? I would still snatch probably before you would back squat. You might have to just rearrange how you would set up the workout. Like you might have to you'd have to play around with the app. That's some stuff that we're changing too. As we're working through like the next year, that's one of the things that we're going to alter in the app as well. So I don't think it would mess up the algorithm though. No, I don't think it would. Samuel is asking me, what are my top 5 mobility exercises? My favorite mobility exercise is a pause back squat. Pause back squat. You're going to get more mobile across the full gamut, right? I think also baby pose, hip 90-90, Bretzel 2.0, prayer stretch. We've got a roller like that you can roll with your lats here, a thoracic extension roller. That's another one. I like doing a power elastic banded where we put the band here and grab a bar and try to raise our elbows. That's another great one for the wrists and for the lats. So that's another great exercise for mobility. Gotcha is coming back in. Coach Your Channel is the one that got me into lifting, and I've got to say thanks for all the information because it's all just so amazing, even the stuff that isn't wrestling related. Gotcha, I appreciate that so much. And that's a big factor too, is I'll get videos. It's funny. I'll get videos of like other influencers or other strength coaches that are on YouTube, and it'll be. I actually said this today. Going to world championships in weightlifting and going to world championships in track and field and seeing, walking around Budapest and seeing a lot of you guys in the stadium and you guys getting selfies with me and stuff. I was like, this is freaking cool. And I feel like I can be an ambassador for like really, really positive freak training. And one of our mantras is that we want to have, easy access to freak training. And we want to get to the point where we have 50,000 people. So think about, when I was in Hungary at World Championships, the stadium was like a 55,000 seat stadium. And for me, it was like, I want to be able to say like this whole stadium is on peak strength and it's training on peak strength. And I want to have 50,000 people in the app doing really good training, because one of the hardest parts, and this goes back to Gotcha because he just got into lifting, a year ago or so, is like training online or seeing things, how people train online can get so confusing. You see all these really like fancy things that Joel Seedman does, then some really cool stuff that mobility experts are doing, then some really cool stuff that powerlifters are doing, and cool stuff bodybuilders are doing, cool stuff that weightlifters are doing. And it's really hard to sort of put together this seamless program. And I do sort of look at myself as like that ambassador for sports performance training that will give you easy access to that freak training that can take you to the next level. So shout out to you. Gotcha. I'm glad I appreciate that quite a bit. Henry One Nutch. As an underweight athlete trying to gain muscle mass but also become more athletic, how often should I do sarcoplasmic hypertrophy? I would do it 3 days a week. As long as you're still lifting well, as long as you're still doing technical coordination movements, as long as you're still doing plyometrics, if you're trying to get bigger, sarcoplasmic range of training is where it's got to be. For you, it's going to help you eat a little bit more as well. And honestly, if you're trying to gain muscle mass, 4,000 to 4,500 calories is a key place to be for that big increase in lean muscle mass. What's the best way to create fast twitch muscle fibers to improve acceleration? I think we have a really cool. Will, we're gonna do we're filming the throw show tomorrow. I'm not sure when that throw show will be released. Maybe Friday, hopefully. I'll be at the Diamond League on Friday, so you guys should follow me on Instagram because I'll be out in Eugene. I'm leaving Thursday. Best way to create fast twitch muscle fibers. I feel like we've had a couple videos come out recently around building fast twitch muscle fibers, but I think the biggest thing comes down to rate coding. Okay, so rate coding and coordination, and just in learning how to properly rate code, and then looking at in an acute setting, there's exercises that we can do through different contrast methods that can improve rate coding. Okay, so if we do, let's say, and think about rate coding as like, I'm playing Super Mario Brothers track and field, right? And the faster I hit my thumb on the A button, the faster I can run the 100 meters. So rate coding would be how fast can I smash the button? The faster I get, the higher my rate coding becomes, and the more I'm recruiting high threshold motor units. And so if we can train our body to rate code more effectively, we in turn can recruit better. And then as we recruit better, we can express more power output, which then leads to more mechanical load, which then leads to more increase in muscle mass. So my answer to that becomes, one, we've got a lot of YouTube videos covering this on fast twitch stuff, but two, figuring out in an acute setting, how can we improve rate of force production? How can we use rate coding theory or rate coding research to improve that acute setting, and then do that over and over and over and over and over and over again over a very long period of time, so it becomes a chronic thing that our body learns how to master, because I believe it is a skill. It is 100% a skill. Okay, so that's my quick answer to that. I'm a break dancer. Breakdancing is in the Olympics in 2024. I can't figure out how to add weight training in my skill training. I train 5 days of strict skills. Can you, this is for Rancho TV, can you add in like 3 easy 30 to 40 minute workouts in the morning to help with your breakdancing? Let me know if that would help. Vivian Garrett, how can an athlete with limited time do a lift and run session on the weekends? Lift and run Sunday, lift and run Saturday. Lift and run. That sounds like a peak strength video that I think we need to cover, because I think the big factor for me, and this goes to Vivian, would be, what's up, Aaron? I see you in there. When are you getting to Eugene? Kenya's flag top. Oh yeah, I do like Kenya's flag, by the way. Noah, how are you doing? I'm glad you're in here. For sure, I probably agree with you. There's some really good flags out there, though. We should have a flag poll. Actually, poll, not like an actual poll. Okay, but going back to this, if we're gonna lift and run on the same day, I think, not to get too trendy, but one of those runs has to be a zone 2 run where you're going out for like 60 to 90 minutes and you're staying below like 145 beats per minute, 142 beats per minute, right? So you keep zone 2 for about 60 to 90 minutes, okay? And then in the afternoon, you can do an easier lift. You do some type of leg lift. I'm getting in Thursday night as well. I actually have to fly into freaking Portland, Aaron, on Thursday night. And then I'm driving. I actually will be down there Thursday afternoon, so I lie. If you need a ride from the airport, let me know. So the way to set up that run would be a zone 2 run with like a moderate lift on a Saturday. And then on Sunday, I would actually do a longer run. So let's say we go out for like an 8 to 10 mile run, and it's like your long run for the week because it's a Sunday. It's an easy day to get that in. And then I would do an upper body lift after that. I would just go in for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and just get like a pump. Just do your abs and stuff like that. Easy stuff, real easy. But that will pay dividends. And make sure you're eating enough. Make sure you're staying hydrated. All right, let's get into, did you like the event you put out with Jake as a commentator? Will you put out more events like that? Are you talking about, I'm assuming you're talking about the throws comp that we had. That event was freaking awesome. I loved it. And I thought Jake did a fantastic job as well. What is more important as a non-athletic guy, to get faster weight room or plyos and sprints? Honestly, I think there's a progression. Typically, I would start with weight room stuff to help a non-athletic individual. And then as we build the strength in the weight room, you start to bring in something like a clean or a power clean or a full clean or full snatch, because a lot of guys, when they're not as athletic, they tend to struggle with dropping into a clean or dropping into the hole in a snatch. So that's another big factor along those lines. And then after you get into the clean work, then you start bringing in more plyometrics and more sprint work. That's sort of an easy progression. Let's see here. Can weight training be included in your 150 minutes of weekly cardio, or should it just be running, rowing? I think you could. I think that the 150 minutes of weekly cardio should just typically be cardio, and you should probably get another 3 days of lifting if we're looking at just longevity. Keith, it was nice to chat, listen to some of the other guys on the GS team. That's cool. As you should. I have learned so much because of this channel and follow your guides and app. I'm super grateful for everything you've uploaded and allowed us to learn from. That's from Eli. Thank you, Eli. I appreciate that. Hey, Coach, would you say that extra stretching isn't necessary if you work out in full range of motion? I would actually. It depends on your age, Denise, but I would say you should still be doing mobility work outside of just doing full range of motion. Tomid's coming in. I need a program for MMA because I want to have a style like DJ or Cruz and also add abductors and hamstring exercises. How do I talk to you about this? 1, 2, 1. Tomid, you would have to buy a phone consult with me on the website if you would want to do that, or join the Friday chat. Gotcha. Coming back in. Connor, tell me if this is, I sprint 2 times a week. I do plyos once a week with ATG 5 times a week with some compound movements from your speed program. I think that would be fine. I think I would just question, like, how heavy are you going on some of those lifting days? Like how heavy are those compound movements? And just bring that to light as well. Nothing like a skinny fat dude giving speed training advice. Come on, Lars. I didn't think I was a skinny fat dude. I thought I was like a fat dude. Yeah. So what are some good plyometric or good calisthenics for speed? I'd say pistol squat, skater squat, jump lunges, walking lunges, step ups, jump step ups, triple jump step ups are all great. Gotcha is coming in. Coach, sorry for all the questions. How can I get faster for probably the 165-pound weight class? I'm pretty strong, but I'm so slow. I've been doing plyometrics, and they have helped. I'd also say hammer those single leg squats. If you're hammering single leg squats, you're hammering step-ups, that's going to help you with your speed on the mat. The last time I've seen your garage strength video, you looked more leaned out, but also with high lean muscle mass. What did you do to recomp your body? Are you saying compared to right now? Man, now I'm going to be all self-conscious. I got to tighten up my shirt. This is like what when you grow up as a fat kid like myself, you have these tricks of like trying to look thinner. Like, does this help me look thinner? If I tighten up my shirt a little up top, maybe that'll look, my shoulders will look better. The biggest thing for me for recomping my body is good sleep. Don't travel for freaking 4 weeks. That helps quite a bit. Don't drink, which is really hard when you're traveling and you're around athletes who are finishing up major competitions. That's really hard. Make sure you're eating as clean as possible and you're not overeating. One of the things too, when you're traveling to these comps, like for me personally, is like, we'll go to a meet and it's like, oh, you got an all you can eat buffet. And when you grew up with myself, like, I just want to eat everything, right? You struggle to limit that. So I think it's just keeping that in mind. But for recomping, it just comes down to make sure you're exercising, make sure you're doing resistance-based training, make sure that you're doing endurance-based work, and make sure that you're tracking your calories so that you know that you're in a caloric deficit. That's how you have to lose weight. I hope that helped, Richard. Honors, how should I do a 4-day MMA training camp lifting split with no running? Off camp, I do powerlifting 3 days a week and road work 5 days a week. I would do 2 hard days in the weight room that are only like 30 minutes. I would do 2 days of like plyos. I would do like a day of plyos and a day of like a pump lift. But one of those days, if you're not doing running, you've got to have some work on the bike or some work on the rower. I can help you a little bit more in detail. Let me know. I'm like a meathead gym bro, pretty much. This is from Gotcha. Lift heavy, eat lots of protein. Absolutely. Eat lots of protein. Lift as heavy as you possibly can. Move heavyweight fast. Move your body fast as well. Okay. Let's see. Will Doyle, how many times a week should I sprint and should hit legs in the same day? I wouldn't hit legs in the same day unless you're a sprinter. What I would focus on, what's up from Estonia? I see that I will be in Estonia November 11th. Or no, I guess I'm going to be there on November like 8th to the 12th, something like that. But think about when we're going through, actually trying to figure out if I'm sprinting and lifting legs on the same day. If I'm a sprinter, you could get away with that a little bit, but I would keep it much more like a lower intensity level. I would try to base 2 leg lifts if I was a sprinter as far away from my hardest running workouts so that I can focus on cleans, I can focus on back squats and still improve in the weight room while also, so I'm improving that weight room strength, and at the same time, I can still improve that track strength. I was looking at Connor Pace's other question. Best compound movement for speed, in my opinion, I would go all the way from a non-compound movement, like an isolation exercise, like a Nordic hamstring, all the way up to, what's up, Hampton? I see you in there. All the way up to like a hang power snatch. A front squat also has a lot of research around it for speed, especially for speed on ice as well. And then even single leg squat, great compound movement for speed. So love hearing about the articles you read and talk about in your podcast. Where do you find them? I find most of them through PubMed and through Science Direct. I think the other website, Research Daily, some of the influencers that I follow, I try to see. And what I'll try to do is I see studies that I like. I'll save them on my phone, and then what I'll do is I'll text them to our video editor, Jason, and Earl, who does our podcast, and then we put them into a document where we've just got a whole list of research papers that we could do videos on or actually even talk about inside the podcast as well. Okay, Rancho TV, you look amazing. Thank you, Rancho. MC Stone, can you run like 11 seconds, 100 meters, even though you are not strong in the weight room? Yes, for sure you could do that. I can't personally do that, but you could do it. You looked really slim in one of the shorts from last week. So the short from last week was probably filmed about 6 weeks ago, maybe 7. How do you relax when you are out at Worlds? I don't, which is why it's really hard for me to get work done, because when I'm at a World Championships, with track, it's really challenging because you've got different event athletes. So you got a discus thrower, then you got shot putters, and you got male discus throwers, and you got male shot putters, and you got female discus throwers, you got female shot putters, and they all sort of have like different times of training. So you're at World Championships, you got to take a bus about an hour just to get to the stadium. Then you're at the stadium during training, and you're training here, for 2 hours, and you got to go over here for another 2 hours. And you got to meet this group for 2 hours. Then you got to drive back to the dining commons, and then you got to go to another individual's hotel. It just ends up being a mess where all day you're going from location to location, coaching, being supportive, and creating the program for that week of training. Because that's another thing. You lay out the program so far in advance, and you're like, oh, this is dialed in, this is going to be perfect. And then you get there, and the training times might not fall in line with what you want. The training days might not fall in line with what you want, because they might change the schedule around. So it just ends up being quite challenging. And even this past year at World Championships for track, it might rain on a couple days, which then also alters the practice schedule for the long throws versus the short throws. So it can be pretty hard. Do you have a full workout plan for getting faster and stronger anywhere for football? So this would be for Will. Will, what I would say is we have an app. It's called Peak Strength. Okay, if you want to get faster and you want to get stronger and you want to get more explosive, go to peakstrength.app. Okay, and you're going to download the app. And it's going to walk you through a full week of training to get stronger legs, to get a stronger upper body, to get a faster, more explosive body on athlete day, to do impulse movements, to be faster, to be more explosive. And you download that and you do it, and you have to do it for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. A lot of times, especially with the younger athletes, the biggest thing that I see is we might only train for a week, and then we train for maybe a month, and then we back off and we take a break because, my back was hurting, or I wasn't feeling that good, or this happened or that happened. And then you're back at square one, and you just go through that cycle. You need to train in a system that's periodized and proven year after year after year, and do that for 6 months, do it for 12 months, do it for 18 months, do it for 2 years, do it for 3 years, do it for 4 years. And then all of a sudden you look back 4 years later and you're a total freak, but you've got to put in the time in the periodized proven program, the Triple P. Let's see, Rancho, I'm a break dancer. How can I add weight for explosive strength? Again, I would just say, with those morning workouts, dumbbell snatch, trap bar jumps, power snatch, power cleans, easy back squats. That would help quite a bit. Man, I'm missing out. Lars is ripping me up, and I missed that comment. Jeez, Lars, you're coming at me? Eli is saying, Lars, why are you hating so much? Eli will download Peak Strength. I'm doing the running back portion, and I've gotten stronger damn near everywhere. Is the member lives the same as the public live? No, the member lives is different. The member lives is only about 25 athletes or 25 people, 25 coaches that come in. I wanted to do a member live this Friday specifically on one of the meta-analysis that was just released on whether or not weightlifting or resistance-based training stunts growth of young athletes or young individuals. Lifting weights when you're 6, 7, 8 years old, does that stunt your growth? A new meta-analysis just was released, and I want to do that for our Friday live. Philmine Productions. I would say Philmine, email support@garagestrength.com. Eli Noriega, I just PR'd today with 185 for 2 on the push press. Thank you to Peak Strength. 185 for 2, that's great. Man, I guess I can't wait to see what Lars was saying. I missed out on Lars trolling me. I love the trolls. Sometimes the trolls hurt my feeling, though, and I lay in bed staring at the ceiling thinking, I wish trolls would like me. Ginny's in the chat in Instagram, and she's laughing at being 4'9". I do know you're 4'9", Ginny. Is the member live the same time? Forgot that one as the public live. The member lives will usually be, depending upon my travel schedule, They will usually be from 1 to 2 p.m. on a Friday. Let me know if that works. And then they are saved. Will comes in. Thanks, Coach. Sorry for the questions, but I have one last one. I recently injured my hamstring and I can't hit legs or sprint for 3 months. I want to start peak strength, but I feel it will mess it up. I would argue, Will, that peak strength lifting, okay, the leg work for peak strength will likely help your hamstring recovery. You can't just ignore lifting weights, because a physical therapist says you hurt your hamstring, you shouldn't do anything for 3 months. You need to do something. You have to do something to improve and to strengthen that. So I would just be aware of that. Ali, have you ever had an athlete that broke his shin or feet by running too much? Shin splints. Yeah, that would lead to a stress fracture. That has happened with some distance runners. Rocks. Hi, Dane. I was watching your periodization videos. I play basketball where we have a season that lasts over 6 months. How can I periodize for this? Rocks, what I would do is I would focus on your peak date being your postseason, and I would really try to hammer, the last 2 months of basketball, like you back off from your volume and you just lift twice a week. And then the first 3 to 4 months of basketball season, you try to push it a little bit more in the weight room, just a little bit more. Again, I know I'm going to keep saying this, but this is for Rocks would be, if you use peak strength and you select basketball in peak strength, it will lay it out. And now we have an in-season aspect of peak strength. So when you get into peak strength, you can actually use the in-season aspect to help improve everything. How are the injury rate with PP compared to other systems? I would argue this, looking at somebody like Haley. Haley's been training as a weightlifter since she was 12 or 11 years old, and she's 24 now. Sam's been with us since 2015. Alex Rose has been with us since 2015. Dude, it's crazy how long our athletes have been training with us. So that would be my argument to you, Keist. Longevity plays a pretty important role, especially if they're doing their mobility. I think, Mobility Doc plays a big role there. Mobility work that we use also plays a huge role. So yeah, Ali, they would not continue to run after they hurt their shin. I'm going to get out of here because I've got to get down to weightlifting. Training session starts in a couple minutes here. But again, I've missed you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We are going to go into next week. Next week we will be going into let's see. I'm trying to discard this video. There we go. Next week, we're going to be releasing some more of the T-shirt winners from here. Again, I appreciate you guys coming in, chatting it up. Keep commenting on all of the videos. We see those comments. We see those questions. Until next time, peace.